Peace, peace, good people. Welcome to Honoring Our Ancestral Practices, where I share the many ways in which we honor our ancestral practices and traditions through food, art, and community. For this episode, though, I wanted to share a little bit about me and who I am. For those of you who don't know me, and even for those of you who do know me, but may not know my life's journey up until this point. So I am a visual artist in all the ways. Okay, so it started off primarily painting and printmaking are like my main loves. But anything that involves creating really with your hands in a 2D, 3D form, like I am into. So I am a visual creative through and through. I am originally from South Florida, so I was born in Miami. I really love being from Florida and having grown up in Florida. And I also think it definitely has influenced the way in which I connect with people when I travel, because believe it or not, Florida, at least to me, it's a state where you can really see lots of different people. So you can be in South Florida and be in the Caribbean. You can be in North Florida and be in the country. You can be in Central Florida and be in a global type of space where you're seeing all types of people. You can be in the panhandle of Florida where it's like a mix of country, but then a mix of like another type of coastal life. You know what I'm saying? So being a Floridian, I feel like has exposed me to a lot, and I've also been open to a lot. But grew up in South Florida. Both of my parents were born in Leogane, Haiti. They came to the States and had me and my siblings. Growing up in a traditional Haitian household, it of course had its pros and its cons, but that was one of the first spaces where I actually came into contact with creativity and the arts, because my mom, I believe, is low-key like an arts collector, but all of the walls in the home were like filled with Haitian artwork. So as I was growing up, I was constantly being exposed to artwork that was showing Haiti, the landscape, the Haitian laku, the mountainside, the farmers, the marketplace. And a lot of Haitian artwork is very colorful. So you're getting a lot of bright blues, bright reds, oranges, yellows, all the things. So for me growing up, I was seeing myself on the walls already. So by the time, going through education and all that stuff, let's just say I could not be fooled. When I was taking art history class and things like that, I had already known that there were stories missing. Like, people were not being shown, certain cultures weren't being elevated. Like, that was already apparent to me. But I say all that to say that my creativity and my artistic passion, it was nurtured in the home first, just by being exposed to the work, right? Now, I also went on to study fine arts, visual arts throughout my entire education. So from high school, taking AP art classes, to community college, majoring in fine arts, to getting my undergrad degree, also majoring in fine arts, but then also art education as well. So I have been inundated with art my entire life. But I will say I am grateful that I got to see specifically Haitian art growing up before I was exposed to any other art. Because when you see yourself in a high manner, like when you see yourself depicted on the walls and in frames, being looked at and ooh and all that by people, like, that does something to you, that it shows me that it's very important that we see ourselves, right? So that by the time I got to see or by the time I was exposed to, and when I say by the time, I'm talking like elementary school. My elementary school art teacher, shout out to her, she was super cool. She had paintings and like posters of everyone from Van Gogh to Picasso and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, those are cute. But going home and seeing what I was seeing, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take what's at my house over all this. But no shade to them. They cool or whatever. So it was very clear to me from a very young age that I wanted to be an artist. My earliest memory is being asked in second grade. It was a class project where everyone had to draw what they wanted to be when they grew up. And I drew myself standing at an easel painting something. I wish I still had this drawing because I think back often to that time and I'm like, I knew it. It was already there, right? So I wasn't one of those kids that was like, I'm going to be a scientist. And I was like, yo, I'm going to be an artist. Now, the thought of existing as an artist in the world as a job was not in my mind. It was more so just, I know I want to create and I want to be creative. Like that was the main goal. And to me, I was cool with that. I didn't need to think about, well, how you going to sell this painting and what gallery you going to represent. That had nothing to do with me in second grade, okay? And sometimes it still ain't got nothing to do with me, if I'm being honest. But I digress. Also, during my childhood, I was sent to Haiti every summer. Actually, me and one of my older brothers was sent to Haiti every summer by my mom. I now realize it is because she needed a break. Because the woman had 4 kids. We was running her ragged, okay? She needed a break. And all of my aunts, uncles, grandparents at the time were all in Haiti. So we were one of the few of our core family that was in the States, right? So that did 2 things for me, or actually it did a couple things for me, right? So that one exposed me to my culture even deeper because it took me out of the environment of the States into the Caribbean, right? So not only was I still hearing the Haitian music, eating the Haitian food, all that, I was actually in Haiti. So that made the experience totally different. I'm speaking Creole every day, like no one is speaking English everywhere type of stuff, right? Secondly, that I believe in my heart of hearts is where the spark got ignited that now pushes me to continue traveling to connect with people globally, right? And I tell my mom this all the time that it is her fault because she got me a passport at like 7, 8 years old. So now there is no complaining about when I'm not home and traveling abroad, right? Because she started it. So anyway, shout out to her for that. And parents, if you are listening, get your kids a passport, okay? I don't care if they just go to the next country over, expose them to something else. So with this exposure, and when we were sent to Haiti, we were there for like the entire summer. So it was like months at a time that we were away. And I was also away from my mom. So I think that also did something for me where it like, because right now I am primarily a solo traveler. I have no problems packing my bag, getting on a 14-hour flight and going somewhere where I don't know nobody and I'm staying in somebody's space who I've never met before in person, right? Like I have no problem doing that. And I think her leaving us there, even though we were also with family, not having, your core person, like your parent with you, I think it helped me in a way understand how to be away and travel and not necessarily need like an anchor person, which is not a good or a bad thing. Like, so if any of you listening feel like you need people to travel with you, that's also fine too. But for me, I'm just reflecting. I believe that is one of the things that came from me being sent to Haiti as a child. Now, since then, I've had the great fortune of traveling to several countries to study and to learn with people. But it all started with my first ever study abroad trip, which came about, I'm not even going to say spontaneously, because I believe the universe knew what it was doing when it aligned those stars that day, right? So, and I'll talk about this in a following episode, but I just want to mention it that my first trip abroad was to Mali, West Africa. And that happened because I had two thoughts in my mind. I'm an artist and I've always wanted to go to Africa. Now, the way everything played out, it is just divine, okay? When I went to class, and it was actually a printmaking class I was taking that day at community college, and I saw the poster that said study abroad, study arts and culture in Mali, West Africa. Those were the first two thoughts that came in my head. I'm an artist and I want to go to Africa. Now, the months following that and the people I got connected to specifically, child, when I tell you the universe be looking out for you, girl, okay? Even now, right? But even when I think back to that first moment, because it could have went totally different. Like, I could have just glanced at the poster and then kept on doing my artwork. But that trip specifically expanded my mindset on what it means to travel and learn at the same time, right? With the sole purpose of you're traveling to learn. Like, it's not just traveling for leisure or you're traveling for like a girl's trip or a guy's trip or whatever, but you're actually, when you get to your destination, there is a focus there. Like, you were to meet someone, you were to do a thing, complete it while you're there, right? Up until that point, I had known about, traveling and all that stuff, but I had no concept of like studying while you're traveling, right? So that trip in 2011, it was supposed to be 2010, but I'm gonna get into why it ended up happening a year later, okay? But that trip was pivotal in how I've shaped the way I travel, right? So it exposed me to a different way of traveling, but then it also showed me how I could shape independent travel, right? Because it was pricey. Like, the price tag on that trip, it was overpriced. Like, I get that now. Like, the way I've traveled over the years, I'm like, it's very overpriced. But I also get it because it was tied to a college. So faculty had to be paid, like other academics. Like, the cost of all that stuff, I get it when it comes to how schools break it down, but it's also overpriced, okay? Because you could easily, well, let me not speak for everybody, but I'm gonna say I have easily done it on my own. I've replicated it several times for like not even a third of the cost, okay? And I'm talking about six figures. Like, I think that trip total had to be like 20 grand or something like that. I didn't pay 20 grand, but it was something like around like 15, 20 grand, somewhere around there. But that trip showed me how to actually set up my future traveling, right? I wouldn't go on to do another trip like that until my undergrad years, right? So I was in community college. There was a gap because I went to New York to do an internship, which was freaking amazing. And then from there, transferred to an undergrad institution. And it was after those studies there, after my last 2 years of undergrad, that I then decided to begin my independent study trips. As I was studying and traveling, I also was working. And this is something I'll talk about in one of the upcoming episodes about financing these types of trips. Because one of the main questions I always get is, how am I paying for this? I have been asked if I have an inheritance. I have been asked if I have a sugar mama, sugar daddy paying for everything. I have been asked how are you funding this trip? And one thing I've realized, once you start to travel and you learn like hacks and ways to do it, y'all, traveling is not expensive. And I keep trying to understand, like, how come people think traveling is so expensive? Like, I try to look at, and sometimes I get it, like, I'll look at ads and I'll hear ads and I'm like, okay, they're making it seem like it really costs $10,000 to just go to this country. But it's like, traveling really can be affordable. It's just, you gotta learn certain tips when it comes to booking things, who you're staying with, accommodations, things like that, right? But I'll get into that in the episode where I specifically talk about financing these trips. Now, I will preface that to say that I will be sharing the ways I financed it. There are several other ways that other people have financed it, that they've told me about, etc., etc. Okay? But I will share the ways I've done it because it is very unique to also the way I'm choosing to study and travel. So keep an eye out for that episode because I'm pretty sure a lot of people want to tune into that. So back to what I was sharing about myself. So I'm a Floridian through and through, born of Haitian parents, raised in a very Haitian household, very embedded in Haitian culture. Studied art throughout my entire education, spontaneously decided that I'm not even gonna say spontaneously, y'all. That was divinely guided. But in the moment, it was spontaneously decided. I spontaneously decided to study abroad in West Africa. And since then, have really been able to shape how I choose to study and travel. And I will say this also as a final note before I leave you all, is that I've always been interested in art, yes. Been interested in community, yes, which makes sense when I talk about the ways in which I travel. But I'm also very much interested in food. Now, my interest in food may seem new to some people, but as I look back, food has always been very central in my being. Whether it's the food I was eating growing up, the food I was eating while I was traveling, the ingredients I was being exposed to, cooking techniques, they were always there. They may not have been the focus of like the main thing that I shared, but when I look back on pictures of me traveling and things like that, I am always behind either my auntie or somebody else's auntie while they cooking some food, okay? Or I'm always in somebody's kitchen helping them create dishes. I'll say this now is that food will come up, but it's not necessarily something new. But I think some people who have known me have been like, where did this food thing come from all of a sudden? Like, you're interested in food. Y'all, child, everybody who know me, when Alex come to your house, you better have something to eat. like, like when them plates see me coming, like they already know it's about to go down. Okay, so I'm gonna just preface that now, so that this don't seem like, oh, all of a sudden she's into like gardening and cooking and like hosting dinners. Like, oh, this is cool, like, y'all. This been here, okay? But I hope y'all stick around because I'm really excited to really share these stories and like share my journey, because I've had chances to share some of these stories like during artist talks and stuff, but I never had a dedicated space to really break down a lot of the lessons I've learned. And I hope you learned a little bit more about me in this episode. So until next time, y'all, stay hydrated, moisturized, and at peace within yourself. Peace, peace.